Hari Om, Namaste. We all have this beautiful body, this existence through this body, just because of the food that we consume. Food keeps this body healthy and alive. Today's topic is spiritual eating. Spiritual eating time, or spiritual eating, or spiritual food. Why am I touching this topic? We all eat, it's very normal. Whatever is cooked, whatever one likes, or whatever is the family way of eating. Everybody eats. Without eating, nobody survives. But then how can we spiritualize this eating habit? Because when you spiritualize the eating habit, the entire eating process changes. What are the benefits of spiritualizing the eating habits? Well, in this modern world, the present digital world, I would say, enormous distraction is there. Oh, so much distraction. So we must be very mindful that, what are we consuming? Food along with what? We're consuming food along with all the digital informations, radiation, and all negative energy enters. This digital world that presently we are living in, which is also very important for us, we need to draw a line and understand that this body is called as Anna Kosha. Kosha means the layer, because we are not just this body. We are multiple layers of bodies put together. This is the dense body, the Anna Kosha. And Anna Kosha is called because this body is alive because of the Anna, food that we consume. The flesh that we have is formed out of the Anna that we have consumed. So the flesh comes out of the food. And the same flesh becomes someone else's food also. That's how the animal kingdom survives. In our ancient texts, it is always emphasized that food is divine. Food is Brahman. Anna is Brahman, God. And the very existence of ours depends upon the food. So food is just not by chance, or just we don't eat food because of a family background, and there is nothing to call as vegetarians and non-vegetarians. Whatever we consume, I'm not advocating anything, because it's one's own personal choice and one's own spiritual maturity to turn around and eat sensibly, eat within the limits, eat the food which is not harmed, eat that food which doesn't come with pain. So Anna is Brahman, and God resides in that food that we consume. This is said in Bhagavad Gita, that the food itself is God, Brahman. God, that I consume that food itself, that food is God. And since I consume the food goes into my stomach to digest, that itself is God. That Agni in my body, the fire, digestive fire in my body is God itself. The ladle through which the food is served is God. That means the one who's cooked is God. The one who's serving me food is God. The utensils that are used to cook and to serve is God. The entire process of food, right from the farm, from the farmer's place, from the womb of Mother Earth, to this stomach that goes, the entire cycle is God. Divinize. So we need to divinize it. We shouldn't forget to divinize this whole in the process of food that goes in. The concept that God is life and life is food should be remembered. God is life. God lives through me. God lives through you. God lives through all the lives. So God is life. And from where do we have this life? Life is through food. This is repeated in various texts, which we need to repeat in our minds, that God is life, and life is food, and food is God. So again, it is a cycle, a beautiful cycle, like a mantra we need to remember all the times, and we need to respect the importance of food. Anna Kosha is derived by the Anna. So we have this beautiful goddess sitting in her abode in Kashi called Annapurna, Mata Annapurna. Annapurne Sadapurne Shankara Prana Vallabhe Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham Viksham Dehi Chu Parvati. It says, Hey Ma, O Holy Mother, you are the food giver. Along with the food that I consume for my stomach to be alive, also bless me with that food of wisdom that is required for me, because the food keeps this body alive and the intellectual food keeps my mind alive. Healthy mind and healthy body. So we are not praying to Annapurna just for the food for this body. We are praying for the food for the body as well as mind. So look at our elders. Times ahead, they were so intelligent when they taught and wrote all this. Now, food, when it's being served to us, there should be a thanksgiving prayer, which I know most of you must be doing. So that thanksgiving prayer makes the food as a prasadam, as a holy food served to us. While you are communicating the food, your mind should be positive. Your mind should be sincere. Your mind should be, bringing in divine thoughts at that time. There should be no anger, feeling of humiliation, revenge, and all those negative feelings are not healthy for the food that you eat. Because whatever you eat, that makes your body or breaks your body. So it so happened, yet again a short story, that once a businessman, he went to a renowned sadhu, a sage. He goes to the sage and he prays and requests him for initiation, for a diksha. And in that process, what happens is that, the sadhu looks at him and he feels he's not ready for the diksha. So the sadhu, the sage says, I will initiate you next time when I meet you. And then again he goes, he says, now this is the time for you to initiate me. Now this time the sage is more honest, and the sage says, I will initiate you until you change your eating habits. Spiritualize your feed. Spiritualize what you feed others. Spiritualize what you consume inside you. Bring in discipline. So feeding process itself should be spiritualized. Don't be greedy in food. Share the food. These are certain simple disciplines which are required, and if you understand, then I will surely initiate you in your next, when I meet you next. With that, now the sage, the disciple, the businessman goes back, but he is not very impressed with the sage. He comes back again and again and again, asking him to give him the sacred mantra through the initiation, diksha. Now the sadhu every time declines him, and one fine day the sage feels that I cannot send him back again and again. So this time he goes to him and he takes a bowl, Viksha Patra means a bowl through, with that bowl which he gets food. He goes to the businessman with a bowl in his hand, and he says, he puts some mud into it, some hair into it, and some urine into it, and he puts all dirty stuff into the Bhiksha Patra, into that bowl, and he approaches for alms to that businessman. And the businessman was awaiting for this opportunity for the Diksha, and he says, let me give alms or Bhiksha to this sage, and I can ask him to initiate me. Quickly the businessman prepares all the sweets, desserts, all the most delicious food that he can probably do at that time. He prepares everything and he brings that food to him, and he says, my revered sage, please bring your Bhiksha Patra and it's all ready for me to serve you. Now the sage is showing his patra, his utensil in his hand, and that patra has got all the dirtiest thing possible inside it. The businessman is shocked. The man is so shocked, he says, "What do you mean? How can I serve food into this patra? How can I serve food into this utensil?" The sage says, "Put everything that you have cooked into this bowl, and this is my food bowl, and this is where through this only I'm going to eat." Now this man is so confused. He says, "How can I do that, my revered sage? Oh my guru, how can I do that? Your patra, your utensil is dirty. It needs to be cleaned. Kindly clean it and bring it to me, or please give it to me that I can clean it and bring it for you. And then only I can put the food that I've prepared for you. Unless this utensil is cleaned, I cannot put food into this." And that is when the sadhu replied, the sage replied to him. He says, "When this is the case, you feel that you cannot put this delicious food that you cooked for me into this bowl because this bowl has got all dirty stuff in it. How do you expect me to give you the name of God or place that Lord in your heart, which is filled with so many countless impurities? How can I do that? Your heart is filled with lust, anger, pride, greed, and many such emotions and energies inside you. Have you cleaned it? Have you cleaned your heart? Is your heart a clean bowl? A clean patra to receive the diksha? No. Your heart is still not clean. And how can I place my Lord in your heart? And that's when this man falls down and cries. He says, "Oh Swamiji, oh my sage, I never thought this way. What a learning I learned from you through the food. I don't need initiation because you've already initiated me. You've already given me the diksha. And I understand that my anna kosha, this physical body, is filled with filth, not with food, because food is all just taste for me. I never realized food is God, and food is this body that I hold is life, and the food that I consume is God. I never realized that because I just took the food for the sake of the taste. And all emotions and all dirt filled in my heart, I never gave sanctity to the food." He went back in shame. He cried. He took some long time to purify himself through charity, through selfless service, through prayers, through meditation, by awareness, by being mindful. He became such a pure and pious person. And then Swamiji, or the sage, walked back in his life and initiated him. It was not required because by then he had become a clean soul. So the ground, that is the mind, should be prepared first. You are what you eat. So the mind tells you what you're eating. To some extent, taste is important, the looks are important, but basically it is a mind which tells you whatever food you're communicating is God, is divine, is prasad, it's holy, and you're fortunate to have this food. So it is what you eat, you become. And this is, a regular upadesha being given by every learned person, every great sage, every mother gives this upadesh to the children. But then people end up saying, when you get to hear that, people end up saying, when such upadeshas are given or such spiritual teachings are given, majority of people end up saying, "I'm too young for all these upadeshas now, I'm too young for all the spiritual wisdom, I learn it when I age, I learn it after my retirement, I learn it when I have enough time for it." They take it, they believe that they have so much time for purifying themselves. That is is absolutely wrong notion. Now, bringing you back to the food and today's world, digital world, food time should be a family time together. Food time should be family time together, where the family gathers around together, whether you're eating in a dining table or on the floor with your mats at home, the typical traditional way. Wherever you are eating, your food time should be a family time. It is such simple human interaction that creates strong bond while you are communicating and having food together. You just can't silently eat food and get up and go away. Communication does take place while you are having your food. So the interaction between the family members creates a very strong bond while you are eating. That is why it is very important for all the digital services to be banned from your dinner table. All the gadgets, the digital services should be banned at the dining table or wherever you are consuming your food. This should be made as a simple yet very strict rule, because that enriches your interaction with each other, that strengthens your relationships with each other while you're communicating. That's when you get time to appreciate the food, appreciate the person who has cooked the food, talk to each other. This digital distraction should be completely restrained, because most of the homes, what I see, what I hear while I'm counseling the families is that everyone is holding on to the gadgets along with the plates. So what are we doing there? It's not Anna. It's no more God that we are consuming. Computers should remain in another room, in living room or somewhere else. The televisions should be shut off. All the devices should be turned off while you are consuming your food. You should make it as a very sacred time, like a prayer time. And I suggest to my students when they come to me for any advice, that choose your own days. Maybe choose a Monday, maybe choose a Tuesday, maybe choose Thursday, maybe choose Friday, any day of your choice, and dedicate that day towards your deity. For example, you choose Monday and dedicate that day to Lord Shiva. Maybe Tuesday dedicated to Hanumanji. Maybe Saturday we dedicate the day to Balaji. So each day you can choose the day of your choice and dedicate that day and the food to that particular entity. So that time becomes a sharing time among the family members in unison with a prayer given to that particular deity. So what happens? The family is united. The bond strengthens. Interaction is healthy. And the communication is pure. The family members should get together, prepare a wonderful meal, and verbally they should appreciate each other and count on the good qualities that we all have in the family. And dining table should not be a place to solve all the house problems and the office problems. Wherever you're consuming your food, that should not be a place to solve any problems. Rather, the food time should be to express love for one another. If you send your love, if you express your love to God for blessing you with this wonderful meal, then you will remember to send love to each other. But when you forget God, when you forget the Creator through whom you are blessed to have this beautiful meal, then obviously you'll forget to send your love to the family members also. And everybody, in the family should remember to share love with each other, and we need to develop that voice, that affection from the little child, the youngest child, to the senior most person in the house, to give a prayer together and spiritualize the food, make it holy, and share the food with one another. Then obviously the food becomes prasadam, the holy food. This is true Simple yet very powerful sadhana. A small supportive conversation strengthens the bond with your family members and friends when they come to consume your food. Now, just to add on, I'll tell you, there was an ant. This ant, Chinti in Hindi, this ant was called Jolly Ant. Okay? And this ant came up and said, he was living in a mountain of sugar. He met another ant who was living in the mountain of salt. Okay? The jolly ant was living in the mountain of sugar, and another ant was living in the mountain of salt. And the jolly ant went and asked the other one, "Hello, my dear friend, how are you doing? It's a long time we haven't met." The other one, who lives on the salt mountain, he replied, "Well, what is there to share? I'm living in a mountain of salt. And there's nothing so sweet to talk about to you about my life." So the jolly ant said, "Well, I live in a huge mountain of sugar, and I shall make your tongue sweet too. Come along with me. I'll take you to my mountain, and I will make your tongue taste the sweetness, and that will make you the sweet ant, the jolly ant like me." So both of them went to the sugar mountain, and the other ant started to live in the sugar mountain for a week. After a week, the jolly ant came and asked the salt ant, "How do you do now? Any better? Have you tasted the sugar?" Now this fellow puts a long face and says, "Oh no, there's no change, still the same. It's hopeless, my dear friend. You tried your best, but life is not that sweet as what you say. Life is very sour and very difficult," he went on with a very sad face. So the jolly ant, he said, "My dear friend, I know your problem. You know what you should do is come along with me. Now wash your face, rinse your mouth. Wash your face, rinse your mouth. Rub your tongue with the solution that I'm giving you now. Brush your teeth and rub your tongue with the solution that I'm giving you now. Come back and live in this mountain. Soon you will feel the taste of the sweetness." Because you were living in that salty mountain for a very, very long time, your tongue is all smeared with that salt. You can't taste the sweetness. So the second ant went up. He cleaned his tongue with solution that was given. He cleaned his teeth, he cleaned his mouth, he rinsed his mouth, and he came back and followed the same instruction given by the jolly ant. And on the 8th day after that, he became so sweet because his tongue turned out sweet. So he too turned out to be the jolly ant. What happened now, my dear ones? All the doshas, all doshas means all those qualities which were creating the salty taste, the sour taste in him, that went away. Now, all those doshas that we have in us is greed, is moha, is anger, is competition, is pride, and what not. And we hold on that taste more in our sense organs, in the eyes, ears, mouth, in the mind, everywhere. These doshas are prevailing upon me. The taste of these undesirable energy is what making me believe as to what I am. And the mind clings to that, like the old salt in the sad ant's mouth. So what happened? The ant had to go rinse the mouth with some solution. We need to rinse our mouth with the solution of God, the name of the God, the mantra of the God. The ant was so miserable because he couldn't leave the taste of the past. That's what we need to learn, that we need to leave the taste of the past and come out of the mountain of the salt Just by coming into a temple or going into an ashram or going to a great sage or guru or going to from one place to a very blessed place, you don't become blessed person, because you're carrying the taste of the sourness in you. You need to rub yourself, do the instructions what has been given to you, and then all your old taste will go away from you, making the new taste enter you. That is how your spiritual progress begins. That is a process of self-realization. Yes, you heard me right. Food, your food time can become the time of self-realization. Because most of the time we have only heard to learn or to become self-realized, do this fasting, do that fasting. But where is the mind then? So not every day you can fast. The practicality of life is that you need food to live through. So make that food time your spiritual time, and very soon that becomes a stepping stone for self-realization. That becomes a source of deep spiritual bliss. Rub your mind the way ant rub the tongue. Rub your mind. Rub your heart. Use the soap of japa. Rinse the mouth with a mantra. Bring in selfless service. Eradicate or reduce or govern all your diseases, your desires, which I called as disease. So eradicate the disease of desires and impurities holding your mind. 100% surely you will enjoy supreme bliss. You will experience the Paramatma through the food. Remember, food is God and God is food. Respect the food served to you. When you respect the food as God, you become God. Become God. That is my advice and expectation to all of you. Lots of love. Stay blessed. Hari Om.